Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Episode 1.
Among other public buildings in a certain town, there is a workhouse. And in this workhouse was born the child whose name is fixed to the start of this story. For a long time it remained a matter of considerable doubt whether Oliver would survive to bear any name at all. There being nobody present but an old woman who was rendered rather misty by beer, and a local doctor. Oliver and nature fought out the point between them. The result was that, after a few struggles, Oliver breathed, sneezed, and set up a loud cry. As Oliver gave this first proof of the proper action of his lungs, the patchwork cover, which was carelessly flung over the bed, rustled, and the pale face of a young woman rose feebly from the pillow.
Let me see the child. And die.
Lord bless her.
My child.
So saying, and pressing her cold white lips passionately on its forehead, the young woman fell back and died.
It's all over, Mrs. Thingammy.
Oh, poor dear.
Yeah, she was a good-looking young woman. Where did she come from?
Well, she was brought here last night. Found lying in the street. Walked some distance, for her shoes were worn to pieces, but where she come from or where she was going to, nobody knows.
The old story. No wedding ring, I see. Good night.
Yeah.
If Oliver could have known that he was the orphan of a workhouse, to be cuffed and buffeted through the world, despised by all and pitied by none, perhaps he would have cried all the louder. Oliver was dispatched to a branch workhouse some 3 miles off, where 20 or 30 other juveniles rolled about the floor all day, without the inconvenience of too much food or too much clothing, under the parental supervision of an elderly woman.
Susan, thrash him and throw him in the cellar.
It happened in 8.5 cases out of 10 that either a child sickened from want and cold, or fell into the fire from neglect or accident. But nature, or inheritance, had implanted a good sturdy spirit in Oliver.
In the cellar with you, boy.
He was in the coal cellar with a select party of 2 other young gentlemen who, after participating with him in a sound thrashing, had been locked up for presuming to be hungry. When Mrs. Mann, the good lady of the house, was unexpectedly startled by Mr. Bumble,
Mrs. Mann!
striving to undo the garden gate.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, is that you, Mr. Bumble, sir? Susan, take Oliver and them 2 brats upstairs and wash them directly. Oh, my heart alive. Oh, Mr. Bumble, how glad I am to see you, surely.
Mrs. Mann.
Mr. Bumble officiously deposits his hat and cane on the table before him.
Now, will you take a little drop of something, Mr. Bumble? You've had a long walk.
What is it?
Why, it's what I'm obliged to keep a little of in the house to put into the children's tonic when they ain't well, Mr. Bumble.
You feel as a mother, Mrs. Mann. I drink your health with cheerfulness.
Oh, Lord, what a thirst.
The child that was half baptised, Oliver Twist, is 9-year-old today.
Lord bless him. But how comes he to have any name at all, then?
I invented it.
You, Mr. Bumble?
I, Mrs. Mann. We name our fondlings in alphabetical order. The last was an S, Swabble. I named him. This was a T, Twist. I named him. I have got names ready to the end of the alphabet all the way through to Z.
Oh, you're quite a literary character, sir.
Well, perhaps I may be, Mrs. Mann. Now, Oliver, being too old to remain here, the workhouse board are determined to have him back. I've come out myself to take him there. So, let me see him at once.
Susan, bring the boy.
Oliver was pushed into the room.
Make a bow to the gentleman, Oliver.
Sir,
Will you go along with me, Oliver?
will she go with me?
No, she can't. But she'll come and see you sometimes.
Which was no very great consolation to the child. And so Oliver went back to the workhouse where he was born, and where the workhouse board now decided that he be educated and taught the useful trade of picking apart old ropes for oakum, to start that very next morning at 6 o'clock. Though no kind word or look had ever lighted the gloom of his infant years, yet Oliver had burst into an agony of childish grief as the cottage gate closed after him, and he lay on the rough, hard bed in the large ward of the workhouse, sobbing himself to sleep. The room in which the boys were fed was a large stone hall, with a large copper pot at one end, out of which the master ladled the gruel at mealtimes. The bowls never wanted washing. The boys polished them with their spoons till they shone again, and then they would suck their fingers with the view of catching up any stray splashes of gruel that might have been cast thereon. Oliver Twist and his companions suffered this slow starvation for 3 months. At last, they got so wild with hunger, a council was held. Lots were cast as to who should walk up to the master after supper that evening and ask for more. And it fell to Oliver. The evening arrives.
Get in line.
The boys take their places.
Hold your tongue, boy. Stop scratching yourself.
The master is stationed at the pot. The gruel is served out.
Come on.
The gruel is eaten. The boys whisper and nudge Oliver.
Quiet, I said.
Desperate with hunger and reckless with misery, Oliver approaches the master, basin and spoon in hand.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What?
Please, sir, I want some more.
Fetch Mr. Bumble! Fetch Mr. Bumble!
As the master beats the boy with his ladle, Mr. Bumble rushes in horror to the workhouse board. The boy, Oliver Twist, has asked for more. Throw him in the cellar. Throw away the key. While Oliver sits in the dark, a notice is pasted on the outside of the workhouse gate, offering a reward of £5 to anyone who will take Oliver Twist off the hands of the parish. In other words, £5, and Oliver Twist will be offered to any man or woman who wants an apprentice to any trade, business or calling. Meanwhile, Oliver remains a prisoner in the dark and solitary room where he cries bitterly all day, and from where he is carried every other day into the hall where the boys dine, and there flogged as a public warning. The first person to read the notice on the workhouse gate is Mr. Gamfield, a chimney sweeper.
£5 and a boy. One as could climb up the chimneys and not get stuck.
Mr. Gamfield is taken before the workhouse board.
It's a light and pleasant trade, and though they may get stuck, for boys is very obstinate and very lazy, gentlemen, I find there's nothing like a good hot blaze to make 'em come down with a run. It's humane too, gentlemen, of course, even if they've stuck in the chimney, roasting their feet makes them a struggle to extricate themselves before they've got themselves smothered.
No, not Mr. Gamfield. Could the board send the boy to sea, where, in all probability, the skipper would flog him to death in a playful mood some day after dinner? Or perhaps Mr. Sowerberry, the local undertaker? Mr. Sowerberry was a tall, large-jointed man, dressed in a suit of threadbare black, with darned cotton socks of the same colour, and shoes to match.
I've brought the boy, Mr. Sowerberry.
Ow!
I'll make a bow, boy.
Sir.
Oh, Mr. Bumble, why? He's very small.
Why, he's rather small, there's no denying it, but he'll grow, Mr. Sowerberry, he'll grow.
Night. Oliver is in his bed beneath the counter, sleeping among the coffins. An unfinished coffin is standing on black trestles in the middle of the shop. A cold tremble comes over Oliver every time his eyes wander in its direction. He almost expects to see some frightful form slowly rear its head from it to drive him mad with terror. Then, the next morning...
Open the door, will you?
I will. Directly, sir.
I suppose you're the new boy, ain't you?
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
I'm 10 now, sir.
Then I'll whop you when I get in. You just see if I don't, that's all, my workhouse brat. You don't know who I am, I suppose, workhouse. I'm Mr. Noah Claypole, and you're under me. Take down the shutters, you idle young ruffian.
But Oliver, noted by Mr. Sowerberry for his expression of melancholy, was soon promoted over the large-headed Mr. Noah Claypole. And it being a nice, sickly season in which measles were prevalent, many were the mournful processions which little Oliver headed, in a hatband reaching down to his knees, to the admiration of all the mothers in the town, and to the envy of Noah.
You little sneak.
Noah was pulling Oliver's hair and twitching his ears, as was his usual custom, but not making Oliver cry. Noah did what many sometimes do to this day when they want to be funny. He got rather personal.
Workhouse, how's your mother?
She's dead.
Oh.
Don't you say anything about her to me.
What did she die of, workhouse?
Of a broken heart, they told me. I think I know what it must be to die of that. Don't you say anything more about her. You better not.
Oh, better not. Better not. Well, but you must know, workhouse, your mother was a regular right down bad and...
What did you say?
And it's a great deal better, workhouse, that she died when she did. Or else she'd have been hard labouring or been transported or hung. Which is more likely than either, isn't it? Help! Help me! Mrs. Sowerberry!
Crimson with fury, Oliver fells Noah to the ground, for which he is locked in the cellar by Mrs. Sowerberry. Mr. Sowerberry returns at last, and at once gives Oliver a drubbing. With the first ray of light, Oliver rises and unbars the door. One moment of hesitation, and he has closed the door behind him and is in the open street. After nearly 5 miles of running and hiding under hedges, Oliver sits down to rest by the side of a milestone. The stone bears, in large letters, an indication that it is just 70 miles from that spot to London. London. That great place. Nobody could ever find him there. It's the very place for a homeless boy. Jumping upon his feet, he walks quickly on.